I hit again. This is so risky. This is so risky. Can we get a flinch? Can we score a flinch on one of these? Come on. Come on. Yes. There we go on the flinch.
So that's probably better. So let's do that. You're not scarred. What did we say? What did we say?
This kills, that's my only chance. It's gonna be close. It's gonna be close. Just! So important.
Sorry bro, I wanted to bring this Joyce Bandit Akron. As he stays in, we go for a big hit. And how much is this doing? Quite a bit of damage. So what does he go for? Ice Beam. Okay, that's a resisted hit. We should be taking that just fine as he freezes me.
We got it, baby. I think that's it. That was the last one, right? Katarine. I did it. Amazing. GG to Matt. That was a quick plan.
Hey, too good. Maricosta MVP. Oh, weakness policy, that's right. Hey, man, this thing is a beast. Who was sleeping on Caracosta. Hopefully I didn't misclick there. There we go.
Like that. We just click Ice Beam here so they can't recover on us. And we just outspeed. Sweet. So we are the YCL Season 5 champions, folks. We're able to beat Sven. Super stoked about this.
Rambling? This is insane. This is insane. Come on now. No! 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 I missed it! I missed it! No! He jetted. Never punished! Never punished! No way! I misclicked and clicked Glare and I was never punished. Stop it! Oh, my heart! Bro!
81% chance of it, so yeah. Side shock. Oh, actually, Gengar doesn't even kill me, Shadow, I forgot. So yeah, I can just fireball it. Live!
Bon set.
This game hates me. That's so cheeks. That is literal cheeks. That's so cheeks. That is garbage. That's absolutely. We still outspeed. I mean, homie's running like no speed then. Oh baby, say less.
If he swaps, we'll see these. I think that's what he could do. Oh my God! Did we get this KO? This could be massive. Oh my God, we do. Okay. That might be game winning right there.
Falls jetzt doch Scarf sein sollte, dann muss er sich nochmal einen Draco locken. Dann ist er -4 und ist aber nicht. Ja. Kommt der Lariat, wir haben das Dragonful down und das ist ein 2-0-Sieg für uns. Nice! Wie gesagt, einmal mit der Explosion bin ich ein bisschen zu trigger-happy vielleicht gewesen. Jetzt noch das gehabt haben, wäre vielleicht wichtig gewesen im Late-Game, um noch potenziell Trick Room auszustallen und so weiter.
So we're going to take the spike, he's also going to take this double kick. It does pretty respectable amount of damage. Will be a 2 KO. And it's a Flame Orb, but it's not Flame Orb.
She's going into Blissey or Kyurem right now. $100. Come on. Blissey. Kyurem is even better, baby! Let's go! Die, 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 motherfucker, die, 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 Focus Punch! Yeah! Let's go, baby!
I almost want to double Draco. I really think he doubles. I mean, I'm gonna do it. I think you're gonna double. I think you're gonna double. Yes! Let's go! Let's go! I want one. Give me that one. This one right here. I want this one. Oh my god, I'm crazy. Let's go! Oh my god, I don't even need my headphones. I didn't have them on before. Bye.
What's up, everyone? You're gonna have to bear with me for a second here because I am figuring out some audio. As awesome as that opening was, I am relatively new to this. So let me know how the music is compared to my own voice. Can I hear some thoughts in chat? How's my voice compared to the music? Music too loud, music too quiet. Just waiting to hear some shit. Who we got? God, we got so many people in chat. Let's go. A smidge lower. Okay. I can't turn my voice up. I can only turn the music down. So we're turning the music a little bit down. How's that, y'all? We'll see if that works. In the meantime, because I'll need to use this for audio purposes anyway. In the meantime, we're going to introduce our good pal Jack, aka my lovely co-commissioner. Say hello.
Hello.
Oh my gosh, hello. You might be really quiet too. Let me turn you up. Alright, y'all. What's up, Jack? How you doing?
Not too bad.
Not too bad?
Today, so.
Nice. I think you are pretty quiet, so let's turn you up even further. How's that going? What's up, Jack? Damn right it is. Oh, you know what? Try it again. Sigurd's the best Pokemon.
Greedent is the best Pokemon.
Ah, yes, we're getting somewhere. How's that sound, y'all? Is Jack still quiet? You know, I never made a Twitter post that it started. It's probably a big oops. That's fine.
I mean, if I'm still quiet, I can, like, literally, like, put my mouth up to the mic.
We'll do this. How about that? Alright. Jack, say something now, friend.
Where are my fellow Greedent enjoyers?
Ooh.
Yo, Vivid?
Vivid's
Get
here.
out the stream.
Vivid's right
Vivid
here.
saying
right
that
here.
he hates Greedent. I will not tolerate for this Greedent slander.
Yeah. Can y'all hear him now? How's Jack now? Come on, tell me it's not that bad.
I think Ellie's asked for a ASMR stream, so I'm gonna go really close to the mic and just do a little whisper into your ear.
I feel like I'm looking at the OBS right now, and it's looking pretty clean in terms of your volume.
Owen knows what's up. Green is a demon in Unite.
It is a demon in Unite.
It's actually what I've been playing today. So, okay, Bruno, that's just factually incorrect. Porygon is not better than Green in any way.
Let's plug this on Twitter. All right, how's everything sounding? Is Jack still an okay volume, or I don't want to move forward unless it's all right, y'all. I want to make this a great experience for all of you. I need a thumbs up, a thumbs down, some suggestions. What are you talking about, Jack? You're a great time.
I've just realised I had a point left at the end of my draft. I've genuinely not noticed up until this point. That
I did not notice that either. I just assumed everyone used all their points. That's wild.
I assumed I had.
All right. Music versus Jack. Oh, Jack sounds great now. Thank you, Ellie. Oh, sounding crisp. That audio sounds good. Music's good too. All right. If there's any issues with audio through the duration of the stream, just say something. I'll keep my eyes on chat, and hopefully it should look good, and hopefully Jack will keep his eyes on chat too. So I'm not, a perfect content creator, but I can try my best when it comes to these things. So just, help me out a little bit when it comes to this, but I really appreciate you all helping me out with this. So yeah, what's up? How are you doing? This is a little bit of a test, but now we're actually in the real thing. How are you doing, Jack? You having a good Friday?
Yeah, it's not been a bad Friday. Not at work, so I really didn't do a lot of my day other than playing some Green on Unite for a good few hours. Literally done nothing else. I built one team in 5 minutes and was like, that will do me for today.
Ooh. My Friday's been okay. I spent the first half of the Friday at the DMV, which sucked. So hopefully the second half is a lot better. And I actually got my week 1 game right after the stream too. So got a lot of stuff going on here.
I've already played my week 1.
Oh,
Obviously
you did already play your week 1. No,
I did play my week 1, yeah.
Spoil. How dare you? Don't dare you. Well, how dare you if you spoil. Don't spoil. Please don't spoil.
That's the only team that I've actually looked at properly. I haven't looked at the rest of the drafts, so it's going to be something of an organic reaction, I guess, to these drafts, because I genuinely haven't looked at any.
I've shown a few people drafts, but hopefully this is a first reveal for a lot of people. But let's get into who's here this season. That's kind of a huge deal, right? We want to definitely know about what coaches we have in CGT, and one of the coolest things about this season and who we have this season is we have, as compared to season 1, half of our coach roster is totally different, and that I think goes to show the level of change in the meta and the new people that have come up since our first season and gained championships and have showed and proved themselves on the Wi-Fi scene. I think it's super awesome to have such a new group of people. I'm very excited for it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think also because we had a different system in place this season, it was almost not a guarantee that we were going to have new people, but there was a good chance for somebody to make their name in the qualifying tournament, and we did have 2 people who did that. So
yeah. All right, well,
it's going to be great to see how they stack up.
Let's introduce who we got. We first have our first 4 coaches, myself, Aquarius, coach of the Chicago Strengths app, our new coach, Badass Frostlast, coach of the Indiana Tracers. We have Bruno 7, our winner of the qualification tour, coach of the Chernobyl Dragalges. We have Dr. Slacking, our runner-up from last season, with a team named Change, being the Cotswold Whimsicots this season. We also have El Scizor, who we're super excited to have, a GBA veteran, has been playing in German leagues most of this sort of generation, but we're excited to welcome him back to the English-speaking scene and into the Champions of Galar League. We also have JV, coach of the Atlanta Victinis, probably the coach who I think has made the biggest jumps in terms of improvement and accomplishment throughout the generation. I think he came in the generation very, very new to Mons, and is now one of the top competitors out there. We have yourself, Jack. Hello, what's up? You are an amazing person. And then we have
Not true.
No, it is true. And then we have Kirby, coach of the Walt Disney Landerus. Next we have Matt O'Shea, coach of the Montreal Milotics, a veteran from season 1. We have OG Albina, coach of the Miami Ments, who we're very excited to have this season. We have our reigning champion of Galar, Mounte, coach of his Immunity Idols. Pat Mack, coach of the Sacramento Sand Slash. We also have Rhino, our runner-up of the qualification tour, coach of the Delaware Dittos, who is someone who I'm very, very excited to be having in the league. And then we have Sven, coach of the Uppsala Umbreons, and then we have 2 major titans in the draft league community. We have Shuckle King, coach of the OK Rillaboomers, and Vepsis, coach of the Helsinki High Dragons. I'm so excited for this list of coaches. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I think this almost inarguably is the strongest roster of any Wi-Fi league this gen, outside of maybe Season 1 of CGT. I would say this roster, not to shit on anyone here, but I think this roster is even stronger. The new coaches coming in have been fantastic in multiple leagues, and there's so many storylines that are going to progress during this season. You got guys like Lars, who has been around since the start. He's been in German leagues. Can he is the German league as good as the English-speaking leagues? You got Mounte trying to go back to back after taking over a team as well last season. He did really well with that team that he didn't even draft. You got all the veterans, the likes of Vepsis, Shuckle King, like you mentioned, Matt O'Shea, Owen, OG Albina, he's been around forever as well. There's so many coaches that have proven for a long time that they're very good. And then you've also got the ones that, like you say, have been fairly new. Jay this gen has been honestly the biggest glow up in terms of also not just his mons, but also how he looks. He is a very good looking man.
Oh my gosh.
And also Bruno, who he probably doesn't even remember, was in my Showdown League in season 1 about 3 years ago.
Wow.
And yeah, to see him come through and make it all the way to the finals of the qualifying tournament and go on to win it, I think is going to be one of the most anticipated coaches just from winning that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm so excited for these coaches and seeing how they're going to do. And I do agree with you. I was hyping up the Season 1 roster when it came out. I think this Season 2 roster is even stronger. I think this is the most competitive Wi-Fi Gen 8 league that we're going to have. And what a fitting way to end off the generation with a true, hardcore, ultra strong, ultra competitive Champions of Galar Season 2. I'm very excited to finally get into these drafts. Are you excited to look at some of these drafts?
I am.
Awesome.
I think we should just get straight into it.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I've wasted enough time as it is. So the way we're going to do these is we have a little info card for you to get to know the coaches, and then we have their actual draft that we'll put on stream. So we're starting off with the number one he was first in the draft. He got first place. Not first place, but first position in the draft. That's what I'm trying to say. And that's Pat Mack. Pat Mack, who is coach of the Sacramento Sand Slash, a recent NCP Season 6 champion, the reigning champion of NCP, as well as the champion of YCL Season 3 way back in the day. That was happening around Season 1 of Champions of Galar. And then he's also made a few strides recently being the runner-up of your league, Jack, the UPBA, and that was how many coaches were in that league? 36? That's wild to be second place out of 36.
32.
Okay, still, that's wild. So
it's still a lot, yeah.
Absolutely crazy. So, let's give Pat Mack's draft a look. We are rocking out with a round 1, pick 1 Garchomp. Look at that. How do you feel about Pat Mack's draft?
When you look at Galar decks without Urshifu, without Dragapult, arguably Garchomp is the next best mon behind those, depending on who you talk to. There's I think a common few mons that people will say. So I wasn't surprised to see Garchomp go first. And I think this team actually really supports it very well. He's got screens with Grimmsnarl, he's got hazards all over the place. Sticky Web for Bombi. Spikes, Frostlast, Spikes, and Toxic Spikes with Garvoda. Stonejourner, Big Stony J, he's down there. 2 points with Stealth Rock. And then he's also got things like Kartana that, if you prepare too much for the Garchomp, like Kartana can just tear through your team. Slowbro, Moltres, Snorlax is a disgusting defensive core. Very difficult to break through that. Potentially a little bit knockoff weak, but we'll ignore that. And yeah, I think this is just a very well-rounded draft. There's some interesting picks, I would say, like some things that I'd be interested to see if you can get value from. But all in all, I think this is a really well-rounded team, and it really supports his top 2 well.
And I think that last part of what you said is going to be a very common theme throughout a lot of the drafts that we see, because most of the tiering that we had this season was based on usage. So if a mon is really good but doesn't get picked up very often, it was intentionally tiered a couple points lower than it ordinarily is. One of those mons being Xurkitree. So I'm kind of excited to see how he uses 8-point Xurkitree, for example. But then, like you said, again, there's other threats on this team as well. I think the physical offense in Garchomp plus Kartana is disgusting.
It really is.
It's absolutely gross. And the thing is, too, is like, I think he does a very good job this draft, like, beating bulky grass types. Like, things like Tangrowth, those are, like, Garchomp Kartana's biggest nightmares. But he has momentum out from those grass types, things like Teleport Slowbro and Volt Switch Xurkitree. And then he has stuff like Moltres, he has stuff like Rabombi, Frostlast, Garbodor in his low tiers. I think he'll probably have to bring 1 low tier a week if he really wants, if, you know, he faces some of those bulkier teams. But I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that. I think the way that this team kind of looks is it looks like you can kind of plug and play the top 5 mons and then kind of pair it with Xurkitree if you want to go more offensive, Garbodor if you want those spikes, Hitmontop if you need that priority or extra removal. It seems like there's a lot of I feel like choosing your 6 will be pretty easy from this team. Now, whether or not the team in itself performs, that's onto Pat Mack, right?
Yeah, and I think also just looking at the Grimmsnarl pick, there is plenty of setup opportunity with SD Garchomp, SD Kartana, Nasty Plot or Carmine Slowbro is also very good. Snorlax, the curse set can be really difficult to deal with. Xurkitree, it doesn't get Tail Glow, but it does still get Carmine, I believe. And then Quiverdown's Rabombi, like there's a lot of setup that can make use of those screens, and there's also the Sticky Webs are really nice for things like Kartana that generally gets revenge killed by Scarfers. If your Scarfer isn't quicker, then you're certainly not revenging it, and it's probably going to kill you, because that 181 attack stat.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think it's a pretty good team. I like it to start off the draft stream. And Pat Mack's great, so go check out his channel. And you know what? I forgot to say this. I'm going to say it. Listen, everyone. Remember how we were just saying and revealing all the coaches and talking about how awesome they were? Well, you know what you could do? You could subscribe to all of them. If you're not subscribed to all of them, you should subscribe now, because all their channels are in the description. And every single game this season is going to be high caliber. So even if you follow your favorite coaches, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, you should absolutely follow your favorite coaches. You should still be watching the other coaches' games as well. You should always be keeping up with Champions of Galar content, because every single game is going to be hyped this season, and there's going to be so many breakout performances from people. Y'all should subscribe to everyone on the coach description, okay? So right now, go to the description. First of all, like the stream. Go to the description, open the description, and start subscribing to those coaches, okay? So you can keep up with Champions of Galar content. Isn't that right?
Absolutely. I've got my YouTube open, so if you're not subscribing, I will know.
That's true. There you go. All right, we're on to my favorite person, and I'm not just saying that because I'm in call with them, is Jack, a.k.a. Gray, coach of the Vancouver Titans. I mean, look at those accolades right there. The UBL champion. I wonder who you beat to get that trophy.
That was a lucky win.
Yeah, I don't think so. But then, you had the BBR championship as well, which I thought was super hype. And a lot of runner-up statuses. I think one of your biggest accomplishments in the last 6 months was being the runner-up of APA, which I think next to Champions of Galar is probably like the next most competitive league there was. So I think, being runner-up in that is phenomenal. So congratulations on that front.
Thank you. APA seems to treat me pretty well. 2 runner-ups, but sadly no championships there.
Yeah.
But
That's okay. You got a double championship this gen.
It surprises me I did that well this gen, honestly. Like, looking at it, I was like, I don't think I've done... Like, I got 2 championships, but that's about it. But I forgot I was even runner-up in some of these leagues.
Dude, you undersell yourself sometimes. You are definitely one of the biggest threats this generation, and it's an honor having you back to the season again. I'm excited to look at what your team is. Whoa! Look at that team.
Yeah, this... So I will say that there was a lot of snipes on my draft plan, and I put it together and would get sniped immediately, and so it ended up probably not being as good as I wanted it to be, but it still does roughly what I want it to do.
Yeah, I think it's a great team. I was just gonna say about it is, like, when you were drafting, you drafted the Torn, and then you drafted Drill, Cinderace, Buzzwole, Tyranitar, and I was like, Gray does not have enough physical offense, clearly. You just have to keep piling up on those physical attackers. But then you balance it out later on. But, you know, I think you have a very scary team. You got the double weather. I've never really used Alolan Ninetales Gen 8, so I, you know, haven't had much experience with it. But it does seem very good on this team with the Veil support. I mean, you have so much setup on this team.
Yeah, I mean... That was not necessarily what I was going for at the start, but when I saw that Alolan Ninetales was still around, I was like, I enjoy using this mon. I've used it a few times, and it actually supports this team really well. Like you say, I got set up in Nasty Plot Torn, Swords Dance, Excadrill, Bulk Up Cinderace, Bulk Up Buzzwole, Dragon Dance on Tyranitar. Like, it just goes on with my draft, but one of the ones that I'm really excited to use, weirdly enough, is Galarian Corsola. It's It's quite... It's dropped off a lot because it seems to be very easily countable, but it's something that I've wanted to use all gen, but at the same time I've never really rated, weirdly. It's just one of those weird mons, but I'm certainly excited to use that. And the combination of Excadrill, Buzzwole, Tyranitar I've got in another league, and it's serving me pretty well.
That's awesome.
So I thought I'd draft it again.
Yeah.
And yeah, I picked Cinderace, and then after I did that I was like, man, my next 2 draft picks are both going to be physical. I really need to get some special offense at the end, because otherwise I'm kind of screwed if I come up against any kind of Fizz Def mon. So that's why we got an Alolan Exeggutor, and then Oranguru, just vibe.
Just get some special attackers. I'll say 1 point first, but first point being Thundurus, Therian, and Galarian Corsola, I think, are 2 underpriced mons in this draft that I think I'm very excited to see you use, because they're, again, mons that you don't really see anymore this generation. So because they had the lower price point, I imagine they were a little bit more enticing. But additionally, you sniped me of Alolan Exeggutor, you jerk. So was it just for a special attacker? Is that all it was? You could have gotten, like, Behemoth. What the heck? Why you gotta take my egg?
You can bring... I think it's Kurt who took Drampa. Spoilers. But yeah, Kurt sniped me, and I needed a dragon type, and I looked at what was left, and I was like, slim pickings, I'm going to go for the best special attacker, the dragons that are left, in 3 points or 4 points and below, and that was Alolan Exeggutor, so...
Goddamn. Alright, fair enough. Yeah, Drampa was really high demand. I know a few people who had their eyes on that thing, so... yeah, that's totally fair. You better use it, though, because otherwise that snipe is going to feel like a waste. You bring it against me. That'll be fine. That'll be great.
I mean, if anyone knows me, they know I like to bring my low tiers, so...
Hell yeah.
It will definitely come to a game.
Awesome. Alright, we got Lars up next, right? Lars, the 3rd pick overall. Some of these leagues might look...
Sven.
Oh, Sven?
Sven. Is it out of order?
It's out of order. All right, we're doing Lars first. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Just keep in mind that Lars was 4th and Sven was 3rd. Okay, whatever. I did mess that up a little bit. Oops, that's okay. That's fine. I'm sure Lars won't be too upset. So, in case you might not recognize some of these logos, the GPL and the NPBL are German leagues. So Lars has been doing very well in the German leagues. But to give also a grasp of what Lars has been doing on the English-speaking scene, he was the regular season champion of UPBA, which was my first Wi-Fi League of Gen 8, which was pretty cool. And he 6-0'd me, so that was not very fun. So yeah, he was a dominant force in that season for sure. So I'm excited to see him return. Also, before I forget, just like all these graphics were done by CB Marcus, who's in the chat. So everyone say thank you to CB Marcus and give him a hello. But yeah, thank you Marcus. But yeah, we got El Scissor here. And I'm so excited to have him. Yeah, and I think his draft, I mean, you know his draft, right? I mean, his draft is one of the most, like, let's see it.
I mean, I would say it's one of the most interesting drafts.
That's what I was going to say, is, first of all, round 2 Bulu is wild to me. Not saying that it's bad or wrong or anything, but I think it goes to show the different perspectives from different communities. I've had a few in-depth conversations with people from other Wi-Fi draft league communities that, you know, German Wi-Fi speaking communities, who have told me that, you know, in German leagues, like Zygarde is commonly like banned, Bulu is like always tier 1 still, and like the performances back those things up in those German leagues themselves. From what I've heard, maybe I'm incorrect and Lars can correct me in chat, but there are big tiering differences between different communities, and there's no correct or incorrect tier list. But the reality is that Lars took a look at our tier list and said, I think some of these mons are really underpriced. And I think he picked a lot of those mons between Bulu and Zygarde and Galarian Slowbro and a few other things. So I think his team's super unique in that sense. I think his team is the team with the most number of mons that I think I was looking at the tier list and hoping would get drafted. And I'm so happy they're in someone like Lars's hands because I know he's a very talented and creative builder. What do you think about this team?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's a different culture, I think, in different speaking leagues. And whether it be right or not that German see mons differently, I know Zygarde is something that's really fallen off in English-speaking leagues this gen. Things like Bulu as well, Skarmory has been decent, but it's not been seen as the same level as it was in the last gen. So a lot of these mons, you could take this out of like 7th gen and you would say this is like a really strong team in 7th gen.
Yeah.
Minus obviously like Glastrier and Galarian Slowbro, but it's just one of those teams that is kind of like the you fell off team, and I think Lars is probably going to make us realize just how good this team actually is and how good those mons are. Because he used Zygarde in UPBA, where he got the regular season championship. I think he went unbeaten for the regular season with that mon, and I know he can do some fantastic stuff with it. He's also got a stack attack of Glastrier with 2 Trick Room users. I do believe that Duosion and Slowbro both get Trick Room.
Yeah.
As well as Stack Attacker.
Yeah, Stack it too.
Yeah,
so
Trick Room.
There you go.
So there is that possibility. Galarian Slowbro as well as a great Trick Room abuser as well. So yeah, there's a lot of things on this team. You got the classic terrain Hawlucha combination. Rotom Heat is just a staple at this point. It's one of the best mons in Gen 8 Draft League, just in general. I think it's actually maybe a little underpriced at 14 at this point. But yeah, a lot of these mons, I think he just looked at it and was like, this mon is like top tier in my leagues, and I'm gonna show why they should be top tier.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think the big spotlight is going to be on Tapu Bulu this season, which, again, gets quite a bit of hate. And I think if there's anyone who I'm excited to see use it, it's Lars. I think that a lot of people saw 10-point Bulu was one of the usage tierings that I think most people looked at and went, whoa, that makes sense, but also whoa. And, you know, Lars scooped that up. So I'm excited to see how he uses it, and it'll be interesting to see, you know, because I can't think of anyone who's really made Bulu go that crazy this season, or this generation. So I'd love to see Lars do it.
For sure.
All right, next up we got Sven, returning from Season 1 with an insane number of championships. I'm not even going to go through it. Like, look at that. Like, that's insane. Sven just freaking is kicking ass all the time, and much love to him. Definitely go check him out. So let's take a look at this team. It's pretty good. There is a Tapu Koko. There is a Galarian Zapdos. It seems pretty typical of Sven, but if it works, it works. There's a few things there that I think are pretty cool, though. I really like the Cloister. I feel like that's a mon we don't see as often this generation. The Drift Blim, I've had the opportunity to use in one game, and I love it a lot. So to have that Unburdened Shenanigans is super cool. And then, you got some of the fatter mons like Umbreon and Uxie. And I know that, and like Ferrothorn, for example, and I think it all works well together. But I don't know if I've seen Sven play with this level of defense, to be honest. So I'm very interested to see how he uses it. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. It looks on paper like a much more defensive draft. There is certainly a lot of mons that people would categorize as like specifically defensive, like Ferrothorn, like Uxie, like Umbreon. But there's also like the offense on this team is not to be like looked over. Even Tauros at 7 points, like that thing is a monster in the right hands, and Salazzle as well. I'm pretty sure that ended up being MVP of UPBA Season 2, I want to say. Like, how that thing got to MVP, I don't know, but that thing is also very good. Coco, Galarian Zapdos is a very threatening offensive core, and it's also really well supported. Ferrothorn Seismitoad is very good. It's a very good, very reliable defensive core. Toad can also be offensive. Cloister gives him a setup sweeper option, as well as like a rapid spinner, a spike stacker as well. So he's kind of just gone for two very offensive, very strong mons at the top, and then support it with as much bulk and hazards and kind of utility as he could. And even Driftblim, I love Driftblim. I used it in the very first league that I ever did. And yeah, I know this thing can pop off. Like, Driftblim should not be overlooked at any point, especially on a terrain team where it can get the unburden boost. And I've been swept by it before. It can do it. So
I know someone who's been 6-0'd by it before. I don't know if he's still on the stream, but he knows who he is. All right. Next participant in Season 2 is Badass Frostlast, coach of the Indiana Tracers. One of, actually, I'll just be upfront and say it. He was the first coach that I think, as an admin team, we invited as a new recruit for Champions of Galar based off of his YCL championship. And I think that just comes down to the fact that he's had pretty strong performances in the last 6 months. He performs very well in the SPC, very well in the YCL. I know he's in UPBA and made playoffs, but other than that, I think he's kind of stayed out of the mainstream leagues compared to some of the other people in this. So it'll be very interesting to see how Badass Frostlast does. I know that he is famous on Twitter for some fun takes that are pretty dope, but he's a good player, and I'm excited to see how he does. But yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to have him. You had any words about Badass Frostlast?
I mean, he's one of those coaches that this gen has kind of made a name for himself. He came from relative obscurity, I would say. Like, he just kind of came in towards the end, and then, similar to someone like Mountay, started winning a lot, and people started taking notice. So yeah, it's exciting to see what he can do in one of the bigger stages, so to speak.
Absolutely. And that team is pretty like quintessential Badass Frostlast. You got the round 4 Lantern. I think Celesteela fits him pretty well. I know he really likes mons that double up on typings. I know he's fine with double water, double grass, all of the above. So yeah, I don't know. I kind of like this team. What do you think?
It's I think a lot of people will kind of look at this team and go, there's a lot of duplicate typings. There's probably typings missing. I can't see it just like from looking at it, but I think a lot of people will probably dismiss this as a weird draft or not a very good draft. But at the same time, it's dependent on the person, and Badass Frostlast makes these kind of drafts work. He does have the Sand Core at the end, which is always going to be terrifying. Gigalith Dracozolt is very strong, and he does support it with a very good team, actually, for a Sand team. Keldeo and Volcarona are very good. I've used them on previous Sand teams, and they are fantastic to partner with Sand, as well as Celebi as well. You got the Whimsicott. Somewhere Matt is crying that he didn't get Whimsicott. But
I mean, he let it go to round 7, so I mean, like...
yeah, that's on him. If he wanted it and he let it go that far, he should have known.
Yeah.
And Dragalge, I think, is a fantastic mon as well. I really rate Dragalge. Spiritomb, I want to see it do something this gen, but have yet to see anything happen with it.
That's totally fair. And one thing about Badass Frostlast is Mans does not run inaccurate moves, so we're not going to be seeing any Hustle Drake results around here anytime soon, but, you know, I still think that Sandcore is pretty freaking nasty. What do you think?
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I think that generally speaking, this is one of... I think this is a middle-of-the-road team, but I think that it is one of the teams that I look at the team and I look at the coach and I think, okay, this fits most in line here. So I'm excited to see, you know, what Badass Frostlast does with the team. We're going to go on to Mr. Finland himself, Vepsis, aka Elias, aka coach of the Helsinki High Dragons, aka Papa Dano, aka... I'll stop now. We got some nice accolades there. The double UBL championship early on in the generation, as well as the very, very recent and reigning UPBA champion, which I think is super, super dope. Elias is a phenomenal battler. Like, he is genuinely, I think, one of the strongest contenders for that championship this season. I think, you know, it's gonna be tough to take him on.
Yeah, I think these credentials that are on here really don't sell him as like particularly well, because he has won so many championships. He is one of those players that whenever you go up against him, he is going to give you a hell of a game.
Yeah.
And yeah, just seeing like the 4 accolades here, there is many, many more than just the 4.
Oh yeah. Not to mention, he is currently the top-rated coach on the draftleague.nl website, so that definitely is a testament to his skill as well. And he, despite being so good, copied off of my Season 1 draft. He has no originality at all. He just copied Lando Necrozma. It's like, okay. But, no, I'm kidding.
And how'd that draft go for you, Addison?
Well, that's why he shouldn't have copied off of me, because it went terrible, you know? So, but he actually supported it way better than I did. I think that Lando T. Necrozma, disgusting core. But I was telling him when he was drafting, is one of my big issues when I drafted Landorus Theory and Necrozma, is I felt like they were forced into defensive positions a little bit more often than I would have liked. So the fact that he has stuff like the Gudra, the Scrafty, the Metagross, the Primarina, stuff that is defensive and can be leaned on as defensive, and then Lando can run Double Dance and Scarf and Band and whatever the hell it usually runs. Necrozma can run Meteor Beam and Calm Mind, Stored Power, and Dragon Dance. Like, if those types of sets are freed up, that is like perfect for him, because it means that like he has a win con every single week. And I think that is like, that makes this a very, very scary draft. One of the things that I'm very excited to see him use is Raikou. Raikou is a mon that I think can be used by super offensive players, by super defensive players, and I think Elise leans a little bit more on the defensive side, although he's kind of opened up and become a lot more offensive than his reputation used to be. And it's going to be interesting to see what kind of Raikou sets we see from him. Are we going to see the sort of all-out offense type sets, or are we going to see the Subtoxic Protect Pressure Stall? Is it going to be a mix of the two? He's capable of doing both, so I'm very excited to see it. What do you think?
Yeah, this is... I don't know if it's just because these 3 mons were in his UBL draft that I took over. In fact, it may have had Scrafty as well, I don't remember. But Lando, Talonflame, Gudra, I'll include Scrafty in this as well, and Metagross. They're all mons that I very much would associate with Vepsis when it comes to being used. I think he is very, very good at using these mons, and some people may look at this draft and think it's a little bit mediocre on paper, but it certainly isn't in the right hands.
No.
Things like Basculin and Togedemaru I think are actually pretty good value for low tier. They do give him a bit of utility in Togedemaru, and also a 3-point wall breaker that I think tends to go overlooked in Basculin. But also, yeah, like you say, the top 2 support really well and aren't really forced into any roles. Lando, it can be defensive. We see it a lot on the ladder being defensive, but it's also just something that it's a Swiss Army knife. It can run whatever sets you want it to run. It can be physical, special, defensive, choice scarf, choice band, whatever. Necrozma, similar situation. You can run it defensive, you can be offensive, and I think with his supporting cast, it's like it really allows Necrozma to probably run like Autotomize or Dragon Dance sets much more freely.
Yeah, for sure. One of the mons I'm super excited about is Gudra. I think Gudra is a mon that he's going to use pretty well that I'm excited to see. But that's just another take that I have away. But yeah, I like this team. We're going to move on to OG Albina, aka Owen. Someone who, like you said at the start of the stream, has been kind of a long time competitor in Wi-Fi draft leagues. And this is going to be very cool to see, you know, how he does. The very recent reigning BBL champion. I think he's the reigning BBL champion. BBL happens so often I can't keep track sometimes, but I'm pretty sure he's the reigning champion right now. And then we have NCP. He won season 4 against some pretty tough competition. I think a lot of CDT people were there. And then, you know, GDL way back at the earliest part of the season. All around, pretty scary, like, person in this league, I think. I think when Owen goes all out, he goes all out, and he becomes a very, very strong competitor. So I'm very, very excited to see, you know, how Owen does here.
Yeah, same. Somebody who I've been playing in draft leagues with since like some point in Gen 7. I like very early on in my Wi-Fi career, I played Owen. And yeah, even back then, he was somebody who was very difficult to play just because he is a very strong builder and he makes some very good reads as well. So someone to definitely look out for this season.
Absolutely. And we got a team here. Look at that team. I think when it comes to underused mons in the scene, Owen kind of took the cake on this one. We got the Dragonite, which I don't think gets seen as often this generation. The Lucario, which I don't think gets seen as often this generation. Blacephalon and Thundee Eye are big ones too that I think were much higher tier in Gen 7 and are much stronger now. And are, I think, just as strong now, but are just not as used as often for some reason. And then he has the Pex. The Pex is nasty. But I think this is probably one of the more... How do I put this? I think this is one of the more intriguing drafts to me because I think because we have so many mons that we really haven't seen in a long time on a hyper competitive scale in the Wi-Fi scene, it's going to be interesting to see, you know, what Owen does. In addition, I actually think this team is like super offensive. Like, don't let the Pex and the Oddno and the Klefki deceive you. Like, you look at those top 6 right there. Like, these are all like kind of not glass cannon-y, but like all very like setup or scarfers or whatever you want to do with them, right? I think they have really, really strong offensive potential, and I think Owen's going to have the ability to run kind of a balancey type team, or he'll have the ability to kind of go balls to the wall hyper offense with spike stack plus, you know, 5 breakers or something like that. And I really like that versatility about this team. What do you think?
Yeah, first off, Owen, where is the Licky Licky?
True. You got Audino.
I was going to say that could be a Licky Licky, but no. But apparently, like, friendship ended with Licky Licky.
Jeez.
But I know that Owen's been grinding showdown leagues, and a few of these mons have really kind of like started picking up some steam in the showdown scene in like Crocodile, Toxapex, and Dragonite. He has got a disgusting regen core with Toxapex, Ordino. Mew as well is can be defensive like that. That literally is the Swiss Army knife of Pokemon. Literally whatever you want it can do. But beside that, Dragonite is fantastic. It can be defensive and still sweep you. It can be special. It can run whatever you want it to run effectively. It's a very versatile mon this gen. Crook is great. Thunderous I've used recently, and again that's a really potent mon to use, and it does complement his team really well. But Lotus, like, I think they're kind of experimental, if I had to guess. Like, Lucario, we haven't seen a whole lot of this gen. It hasn't really been regarded as a great mon, especially like with it being a steel type that's not really a steel type because it doesn't resist fairy. He has got that kind of sorted with Toxapex and Klefki, so he just runs it almost as a fighting type on this draft. But it's going to be interesting. He's got plenty of hazards. He's got plenty of bulk, but he has got some crazy offense if he decides he wants to run offense as well, like you said.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the other thing I want to talk about here is that pick 7. I think he's 7th overall, right? Am I wrong about that? I think this is our 7th draft. Mew falling to 7th pick in a draft league without Urshifu and without Dragapult, I think is amazing, because I think that if I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if Mew was picked up, round 1, like pick 1, you know what I mean? But he managed to get it all the way down to round 7, so that's going to be interesting to see how he does with it.
Yeah, I think part of that is just like consistency, and I think people tend to struggle a little bit more with Mew with consistency compared to things like Torn, Garchomp, like Coco, things that went before it. It's one of those mons that some people are hit and miss with.
That's totally fair, yeah. All right, we got Shuckle King. What's up, Shuckle King? I know this man's in chat. How you doing? Pretty accomplished player. I mean, arguably the most accomplished player this Wi-Fi season, taking championships in the early part of the generation with EWT, towards the middle, towards just very recently with the APA, which, like I mentioned with you, I think is probably the next most competitive league right after CDT this generation. So being the champion of that is wild. Also, semi-finalist of CGT last season is pretty big. You can't sleep on that at all. So pretty goddamn accomplished. I don't really know what else to say.
I was gonna say, like, there's not a lot of other words to describe Shuckle King in the draft league scene other than accomplished, because he has been there, done that, won everything. Yeah. So also fellow Overwatch fan.
Yeah.
The other one.
True. It's very funny that his favorite mon is Shuckle. I don't know if I've ever seen him use Shuckle, but if he likes it much. It makes sense, obviously, because of the name, but it's like, just competitively, I'd be so curious to see what he could do with it.
He would make it work. Can we get like a mid-season trade? Where
like
get Shuckle?
Trade it out. Pick up Licky Licky, give Owen that Licky Licky, you get Shuckle, everyone's happy, All right. Let's get into this team. Now, this team's a little wild. He picked up the Spectrier, which was one of the mons that I looked at and I said, okay, the usage on this mon is still high, so I'm not going to under-tier it, even though I don't think it's like as good. But also at the same time, like, the idea of Shuckle King with the Spectrier kind of scares me. I'm not going to lie. It kind of spooks me a bit, because I think that even though Spectrier is very one-dimensional in terms of what it does, he can make it not one-dimensional, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Which I think is very scary. You got the Victini, you got the Rotom Wash, you got the Clefable from last season as well. He's carried it over to this season. You got a lot of mons here that are like staple Shuckle King mons. Mainly that, that Clefable is what I'm really eyeing. But then you have other stuff like Zygarde 10 and Kabalion and even Braviary mons that, again, I think are kind of underseen this generation. So I'm interested to see what Shuckle King can do with them. What do you think about this team, Jack? How you feeling?
This is a pretty stacked team. Clefable, Mandibuzz, Rotom Wash is just a very annoying defensive core to try and break, as well as they can be run much more offensively. Clefable obviously is a very annoying setup mon to try and deal with as well. Victini is Victini, like it's just a great wall breaker. Nidoking, also a great wall breaker, but gives him toxic spikes. Spectrier, I'm a big fan of, and I really like it on this team as well. It's one of those mons that I think if you have it on the right team, it can put in a lot of work.
I was going to ask you about that, because I've seen you use Spectrier before. Like, what would you consider optimal support for it?
I would say that if you have a good Dark type, then you're always going to have like good success with Spectrier. I don't know what it is, but when I had Urshifu, obviously Urshifu, Mandibuzz, very different mons, but this pairing of like Dark and Ghost, it just kind of broke through a lot of teams, because their types overlap so much that one tends to break for the other. It's different in this case that Mandibuzz was being defensive, but I still think that it can work out in the sense that it can probably defensively break for Spectria. And there's also things like Victini are really good with it as well. Being able to just kind of break something, and then Spectria being able to kind of carry the rest of the game. It does force prep and bring in normal type. But it's a very good mon if you've got it on a team that is able to break for it, so it can just kind of sweep up late game. Because there's nothing more scary than a Spectria like snowballing out of like control. Because once it gets one Grimnay, that's it. It kind of just kills everything.
Yeah.
If it's not a normal type, you're done.
Absolutely. And I think you mentioned Victini earlier. I mean, I think that shows the sheer caliber of this team, in the sense that the team is so good that you kind of overlook Victini. And I guess, that's really good if you have a team where you're kind of looking at 5 other things plus that first, pick. So, very scary.
Yeah. And Shuckle King also comes from, like, he's a very prominent showdown player as well, and I know just how annoying Clefable is, and how well people like Shuckle King will use Clefable. So, I'm not looking forward to this. I know he uses Rotom Wash really well as well. Also, you got Budget Ferrothorn at the bottom.
I noticed that, and it's interesting because it's a scary mon, and I was like, I mean, I'm not gonna spoil anything, but I was looking at Ferroseed the other day, and it is kind of spooky in terms of what it can do and what it can take hits from, and can't really sleep on that, Anyway, we got Kurt, aka Kirby now. This man is the man of many names, but Kirby is the current one. I love Kurt. Kurt was very kind for. I mean, I don't think anyone knows this except me and you and maybe Matt. Depends how much attention he pays attention with. Is Kurt was a last minute addition to Champions of Galar. We had, our good friend Leo last minute say that he couldn't do it. Regular season champion of last season, and that was definitely a bummer. But having Kurt here, makes it all the worthwhile. And I'm very excited to see what Kurt can do. I think the biggest thing about Kurt, even though, he was the champion of BBL Season 6 a ways back, he was the champion of the NCP SummerSlam, his accomplishments that you see on your screen right now are a little bit more, like, from about a year ago. The reality is this man played BBL recently, and this man played NCP recently. And in NCP, his regular season was 8-0, regular season champion, and I think he was 7-1 for BBL, but still regular season champion of BBL. So this man hasn't been losing very often lately. So I think that from what I've seen, I think Kurt is in the shape to be competing in this league, and I'm very excited to see, how he does. I mean, how do you feel about Kurt?
I mean, I won't remember point blank, but I think Kurt is one of those coaches that towards the end of this gen, he just has gone absolutely like ridiculous. He has gone unbeaten in NCP. I think he was almost unbeaten in BBL. I think he did lose one game in the BBL regular season. BBL champion, Summer Showdown or Summer, one of those champion as well. He does really well in NCP. Like, that is one thing he is exceptional in. And also just another one who, like, I played with like a long time ago. He has definitely improved massively recently.
Yeah, I'm excited for him. And this team, goddamn, this man picked up Zera. This man picked up Galarian Slowking, the mascot of the league, as well as some other terrifying threats. You got the Urshifu Rapid Strike in round 7, which I think is wild. You got the Mamoswine round 3, which I think is also wild, to be frank. And you got a few other threats, like that Drampa I was talking about that was like highly requested. But, that's a mon that was pretty low in the tiering because of usage. That's another cool thing that he picked up. The Suicune was low because of usage. It hasn't been used very often. This seems pretty good. I see one flaw in it, which is just looking at removal. It's looking a little rough with, I think it's just Drampa and Golbat. But other than that, like, if he plans to go on the offensive, it doesn't really matter. And a lot of these mons can run boots anyway. So I think this team's very scary. I think the scariest thing about this team is actually its setup potential. I'm looking at that Galarian Moltres. I think that setting up is terrifying. I'm looking at things like Iron Defense Body Press Registeel, Galarian Slowking, one of the most prominent setup mons in the meta right now, Zeraora, Suicune. Very, very scary. What do you think?
Why is Mr. Mime so big and Galarian Slowking so small?
Mr. Mime is haunting your dreams. Come on now.
I mean, Mr. Mime is obviously the most prominent mon on this draft. That's what I'm taking away from this. Golbat, we're expecting big things. We expect Golbat to be MVP this season, and if it's not, then honestly, Kurt has let everyone down. But no, the rest of the team is kind of gross. Defensive combination of Galarian Slowking, which again is not just a defensive mon, it can run setup and be offensive as well. But Galarian Slowking, Suicune, Registeel, with things like Drampa and Golbat in the low tiers, that's a really tough core to break. And then offensively, it's actually really difficult to switch into this team. Zeraora and Mamoswine are both really good together. And Galarian Moltres is something that, especially recently, I've seen put in more and more work. It's a terrifying setup sweeper. Urshifu Rapid Strike, I think, has kind of got a bad name just because of Rocky Helmet. But it's still a fantastic mon, a fantastic potential Scarfer or Breaker. And Azelf as well is just... It's a really nice piece that can be used as like a lead, kind of suicide lead, or it could be a wall breaker, sweeper, Scarfer, whatever. So, of course, the Drampa, a bit salty about that one, so I won't mention it. But Crustle is also a mon that I really like. Crustle I had on a recent championship winning team, Asterisk champion, because I got really lucky. But yeah, Crustle is fantastic. Spikes and Stealth Rock for 4 points, as well as a potential Shell Smash. Ellie is still scarred by my turn 1 Shell Smash with Crustle. And it's a fantastic mon. I love it. And for 4 points, it's going to be great utility. I think this team is pretty well rounded, but it is a little bit weird, and I'll be interested to see how Kurt does with it.
Do you want to hear the most Matt thing ever? Our tertiary admin here, the most doctor slacking thing ever. This man just DM'd me a few minutes ago asking me to make his thumbnail for his draft analysis that's supposed to go up in an hour. This asshole.
Yeah, that sounds like Matt.
I am streaming.
The fact that it's not tomorrow, and he's asking, saying, "Oh, I forgot." I think this is an improvement. If anything.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? All right. Yeah, I'm super excited for Kurt. I think this team's scary. We got Rhino. Rhino, I think, is one of the biggest dark horses this season. I don't know if you'd agree with me on that one, but I think he's one of the people who I think has really glowed up as of recent. And he came out swinging in the qualification tour right after winning SPC, winning 4 in a row to get that qualification. And, dude, this guy's actually kind of scary. I've been watching some of his games, and I think he's pretty fucking good. Not to mention, he is currently a finalist in the current EWT season, so he might pick up another championship just coming out next weekend. Or this weekend. So this guy's on fire lately. I do not want to stand in front of this train rolling in. I didn't know much about him before the qualification tour started, and like you said at the start of the stream, I think that's the beauty of the qualification tour. It gave us that opportunity to see people that we may have not even known of and watch them and realize, hey, these people belong in this league. So I'm super excited to have Rhino here. I think that Rhino is going to be an amazing addition to the community and the league, and goddamn, what do you have to say about him?
I think he's somebody who excels in being in the underdog position, because I know in the qualifying tournament, a lot of the games he was kind of the underdog in those games. Like, people knew more about people like Wolf, Jay Ricky.
Yeah.
I think
he took down both of. He beat Wolf, who was season 1 last time. He beat Jay Ricky. He took down Ox, who was a pretty major German player. He took down who did he take down round 1? I think Bishmi he took down. So definitely was able to get some great wins just from the qualification tour itself. And I think that I think he's a big dark horse contender here, I gotta say. So let's take a look at this team. Crazy team. Double Dragon. You got the Melmetal. You got the Togekiss. You got stuff like a Selgor. I love a Selgor. Apparently, Slow King is like his favorite mon in Draft League, so that's super cool to see him have. And you got stuff like Inteleon, which was I think Marcus may have missed input there. I think Inteleon was 7 this season, but maybe I'm wrong.
It was 8. I'm looking at the site as well.
Okay,
yeah.
never mind. But it may have at one point been 7, and then you may have told me to bump it up. But
most likely.
Either way, I mean, this team's interesting. There's one issue that I see with it that I'm going to be interested to see if it is an issue, but I don't know if that's something I should point out now or later. What do you think? Do you see it?
I mean, as long as you're not about to say there's a Rhyhorn, because Rhyhorn is not an issue on this team.
So it is the fact that there's a Rhyhorn, but it's not the Rhyhorn itself. I love Rhyhorn. Rhyhorn's great. It's the fact that Rhyhorn's the ground type. Like, there's no other ground type on this team. So, I find that a little bit problematic. But other than that, I mean, you got some powerful mons like that Omni-boosting Komodo and Kyurem and Melmetal and all those things. I don't know. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, now you pointed it out, the Rhyhorn being the ground type is a bit of an issue. In BBR Season 3, I think it was, I didn't have a ground type. And literally everyone just kept clicking Volt Switch against me, and there was nothing I could do about it. Every team would bring their electric type and get so much damage off, despite the fact that I had a Goodra, it still was just like constant loss of momentum. So I think that could potentially hurt him in this draft, but at the same time, he does have a very good team. Outside of that, Kyurem Melmetal is a phenomenal pairing. Partnered with Togekiss as well, that's a really good Dragon Steel Fairy Core. Slow King is a slow mon, so it's just good. Regen is always broken. Decidueye is something that I've come to appreciate more as the gen's gone on. It hits surprisingly hard. Inteleon is, again, a mon that I really want to see do things in Draft League. There's not a lot that I've seen it do, but I know it can be potent. Type Null is annoying. just annoying. Komodo is good, but Double Dragon on this team maybe could have got a ground type there, but I don't know because I don't know the board. And then you got things like Zorok and a Selgor that are generally very good leads and give him good speed tiers as well, because he's kind of lacking outside of that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it's going to be very interesting to see how this team works. I will say, this team reminds me a little bit of Wolves from last season, where we kind of looked at it and said, okay, there's a lot of holes here. There's a lot of things that, like, typically you'd want a guaranteed check on a checkbox, but Wolf actually used that team pretty well. So I'm interested to see, if Rhino can repeat the same thing here.
Yeah, there was no round 4 Ditto, or
that's true.
Round 4,
that's
wasn't
true.
it?
That's true. Yeah.
So it's not quite on the same level, but we'll see. If Rhyhorn comes to a game, then I'll be happy.
I will be stoked. I hope if we play, I hope it comes to my game, because I would love to face a Rhyhorn. Just saying. Okay, we got Matt O'Shea. Matt O'Shea, I think, almost undisputably has to be the face of Gen 8 Draft League this league. I mean, or this generation. I mean, he is in everything, for one. He is always doing stuff, and he's a good fucking player. So, he's always around. He's always there in leagues, hanging out, getting championships, getting runner-up statuses. And you can see those accolades, speak for themselves. I will say, I know Matt has had a bit of a streak lately of making finals in like all of these leagues that he's been in, and then placing in the runner-up position rather than getting that championship. So maybe CGT is that that last chance to snatch that championship title, and not the runner-up title. I don't know. I know that's something that is one of his bigger goals. So I'm super excited for Matt O'Shea to come back. Quarterfinalist last season, I think. Am I right about that? Quarterfinalist last season. He made playoffs.
I mean, I'm getting old. I don't remember.
He had to have been, because what was semifinals? It was Leo, Matt, Shuckle King, Mount, and he made so quarterfinals. I don't remember who he lost to though. Look at that team. This is the bluest team in existence. It's blue.
I mean,
it's the
this
color
is the
blue.
most Matt O'Shea team in existence as well.
You got the logo's blue, the Mons are blue, Matt O'Shea is blue, the ocean's blue. You know, you got all these things. So I'm excited for this team. I helped him tangentially draft it. Sometimes he would ask for my advice on stuff to draft, but for the most part, I think a lot of this was his own comfortability. I know he likes Swampert. I know that he likes Scizor. I know that he likes Terrakion. I've seen him use P2. Honestly, I think the Mon here that I'm most shocked to see him take is Latios, because I don't think I've seen him use Latios before. Allegedly, he used it at the start of the gen, but as of late, I haven't seen him use Latios. So it looks pretty standard Matt O'Shea to me, up front. But he's always got something up his sleeve. It's basically just a quintessential balance build as far as I can really tell. But it's a good team. What do you think?
Yeah, like you say, this is very balanced. Also, if there's not a Swampert on it, it's not a Matt O'Shea team. So there is that. Yeah, Tangrowth, Swampert, Incineroar, like it's very kind of bog standard fire, water, grass core. The fairy on this team being Carbink. I know there's a Comfey. I couldn't see the Comfey for a second there.
Yeah, it's a little tiny.
Being Carbink, that's kind of a bit rough, but no, Comfey is a good mon. I definitely think that thing is a low-key threat that people tend to overlook, but actually is terrifying to face. I can't remember him using Lati either, but I do remember him using Incineroar. I remember him using Tangrowth, I'm pretty sure, as well. Toxtricity is something that I've used recently, and I think that one's great. And this team really kind of allows it to do a lot of things with Tangrowth, Swampert being defensive core. Potentially, you don't want to bring your ground types too much against this team. So I think that Toxtricity has a chance to really kind of work well here as a breaker or a potential Scarfer. The offense is kind of nuts. Latios, Sizzle, Terrakion. That is very, very strong. I forgot about P2. P2 is annoying. It is the most annoying duck.
Yeah.
Then there's an Articuno. I don't really know what Articuno is doing, but again, I look forward to seeing whether or not mons like Articuno are able to perform and whether they come to games this season. I think the Mack can make this team work, absolutely.
I think that's the big thing here is we have a lot of mons that I think are, especially on the lower tiers, are underpriced where they usually are. But the question is they might have been more enticing to draft, but are they, still going to be willing to be brought to games? Who knows? One of the things I'll point out here is the 13-point Swampert. I think that was one of the things that made people raise an eyebrow or two when looking at this tier list. Swampert, I think this generation, with Flip Turn as an introduction this generation, is one of the defining mons of at least Gen 8 Draft League, in the sense that I think slow Flip Turn just became a thing for bulky waters, and that raised Swampert's value very highly. When we did some statistics, we found out that Swampert was drafted round 4 minimum every single time, regardless of its point value. So to see that still be the case at 13 points is, I think, speaks for itself as to the leap that Swampert has made in its, strength this generation.
Yeah, for sure. And I think mons like Swampert definitely got massive buffs this gen. I was still a little unsure as to whether Swampert would be 13, but it still went. And of course, with Matt it was going to go. But when I looked at the usage myself, I was kind of shocked at just how high Swampert's usage was. And then I kind of understood what was going on.
Yeah, no, exactly. Gosh, this team, I don't really want to go up against it, but I don't really want to go against any team this league, so
yeah, no, they all look terrifying.
And I think that's the thing, we never mentioned this at the start of the stream, we upped the budget a little bit, so all of these teams, and I think someone mentioned it, I think Badass Frostlast mentioned it in the coach chat, that the effect that had is that everyone has good drafts this season, generally speaking, just because you have, Matt you have at least 7 mons above 10 points, which, I think is pretty good. And you just got a bunch of good teams, and I think that's good for the Champions of Galar because everyone gets to draft their best, and everyone gets to play with good teams, you know. So it really comes down to skill above everything else. Okay, who's next? I'm going down the line. Also, actually, I'm gonna do a little full face cam again. So I just looked at the statistics, right? And I don't mean to like make this about myself, because who would do that? But I'm 1 subscriber away from 400 subscribers right now. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. And maybe I'll hit 400 on the stream. That'd be kind of cool. Okay, little plug is over. Next person is... What the frick? Bruno. It's Bruno, our champion of the qualification tour. Gosh darn, a very, very, very strong player as of recent. The YCL, I think this was written a little incorrectly, but YCL ran a non-upload required Wi-Fi league, and he was the champion of that league. And that was when I first heard about him, because we were running statistics for the commissioner's poll. But then I saw him perform in Pack. I saw him perform in a few other settings, I think, but Pack was the main one. And God, he was doing pretty damn good in Pack from what I saw. And he just recently was the runner-up of the SDA. And like I said, he won the entire qualification tour championship. Out of 32 people, he was first place. He was the only one to go undefeated. So huge competitor this season. I think someone who is going to be definitely a name to look out for, and someone who I expect to see gain a little bit more traction in terms of viewership as well this season, because I actually, when I watch him, I really do enjoy his commentary. So definitely go subscribe to him, go subscribe to the rest of the coaches. Bruno's dope. I know you've played Bruno before. I've never played Bruno. Like, how do you feel about Bruno?
Bruno gave me a really tough game, and take what you will from that. But also, it's the second Rowlet enjoyer out of our coaches. I'm amazed that Rowlet.
I saw that there was a double Rowlet. Who was the first Rowlet?
Yeah, Lars.
Lars. Okay. God, that's so funny.
Yeah, I was not expecting that. I'm not gonna lie, but yeah, he is a very tough player to go up against. He has, I would say, leveled up since I played him, and considering that was in Pack and he made playoffs, I think we had the same record, but then like half the division had the same record. So, yeah, he has just kind of leveled up since then. So the Bruno I played in Pack probably isn't to the same level as the Bruno now. So I am very much excited to play him this season. And yeah, looking at his draft, it's gonna be a tough one for anyone who faces him.
Yeah, let's take a look at that draft, and bam, there it is. This is like insane offense. Like, he has defensive pieces like Miltank and Gastron, which I've used defensively on the same team before, and won a championship with it actually, and that was defensively great. Zapdos is defensively great. I just used it in NCP lately and tried it for the first time. I loved that. But you look at this offense, dude. You got the Gengar, you got the Darmanitan, you got the Haxorus, you got the Conkeldurr. Like, these are like 4 mons that demand like a separate mon in terms of like dealing with them every single week. So it's funny because I don't know whether this and this is a compliment, not a diss, is I don't know whether this team is gonna like force so much defense that he's going to be able to like defensively beat it itself, or it's going to force so much offense that like he can wall with the defense, or like what the hell, because it seems so like really strong defense, really strong offense, but there's no in between for a lot of these mons, you know what I mean? Like it's I don't know, this is a good team. I like this team.
Yeah, second Mr. Mime we've seen in this draft. I don't think I've ever seen Mr. Mime get drafted.
Insane.
To be fair, even once. But yeah, there's both Mr. Mimes going.
And they went back to back, I'm pretty sure, which I thought was hilarious. Or maybe not back to back, but like in the same round they went, which is pretty funny.
I will point out just how good Gastrodon is on this team, because you got Zapdos, you got Sapsipper Miltank, and then offensively you've got Darmanitan as well.
Right.
That really kind of make you not want to bring a grass type or any kind of grass type coverage. So then Gastrodon, I know from first-hand experience, Gastrodon is an absolute menace when you have no super effective move to hit it. It can quite easily just sit there all game and just recover and Scald Burn you and Toxic you. And yeah, the like low tier defensive core between Miltank, Gastrodon, in particular, I think is fantastic. And he does have mons that fill multiple roles in Zapdos and Jirachi. Conkeldurr as well is very bulky. Can be, it's always going to be offensive even when it's running a more defensive set. And then you got things like Slurpuff you've got to worry about. Is it going to be a setup sweeper or is it going to be Sticky Web? Haxorus is something that again has kind of fallen off this gen, but I still think is a very potent potential sweeper. Again, could be choice banded. Darmanitan, it hits really hard. It's Darmanitan. And then there's Maractus,
yeah.
which again, somewhere Matt is crying because Maractus also went.
You know, I think that's a great point. I just realized something about Darmanitan Zapdos, though, that's really cool, is that Darmanitan, when you got a Darmanitan on your team, like, your opponent's bulky water is coming, and it's coming defensively, right? Like, you have no choice.
Yeah.
So, to have a Zapdos, and even things like Storm Drain Gastrodon to capitalize on that, I think is very strong of a concept for this draft, and I'm excited to see it actually get actualized in some of Bruno's games.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Can I just skip this next person? I don't really like them. Is that okay?
Yeah, I don't think anyone's interested, to be honest.
Okay, don't worry about it then. I'll move on to Jay. There we go. Jay! No, I'm kidding. There's me. Okay. So, me. Hello. I did some things. These are my credentials. I don't know. Hello. Yeah, I don't know. I've been enjoying Wi-Fi lately. I took a break, but now I'm back. We're having a fun time.
I think that's something we should also mention is that a lot of us have taken breaks prior to this league.
I love that, right? Because I think there was like kind of I don't want to say an off season of leagues, but a little bit of a down period for a lot of people, like since the last wave being like UPBA and PAC. A lot of people have kind of taken that time off. I know I have, I know you have, I know Slacking has, I know Vepsis has, I know Shuckle King has, I know Mounte has, I know a ton of people have. So a lot of people coming right back to it. But yeah, this is cool. I'll show you all my team. You want to see my team? I'll show you my team.
I think it's also interesting, like, some people have gone to Showdown Leagues and they've just been, like, binging Showdown Leagues.
That's what I did. Well, I didn't binge them, but I just did one Showdown League, and it was so much fun.
Oh, yeah,
I got to use Aegislash in it, just like I get to use Aegislash now, baby. Let's go! Aegislash is my favorite Pokemon to use in Draft League, so the fact that I'm, like, ending my Gen 8 Wi-Fi career with it, I'm so stoked. It's my kill leader. It's, like, in, like, all of my, like, Gen 8 Wi-Fi, or Gen 8 Draft period, but I haven't gotten to use it on Wi-Fi yet, so I'm so excited to get it to use Aegislash. Like, that's something I'm super, super stoked for. But other than that, you know, very interesting team. I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to let you give your first impressions of this team.
Delibird.
Okay, that's not a...
That's all you're getting from me. No.
That's all?
I mean, Delibird and Trapinch. Trapinch, it's got its niche. It could potentially trap something and kill it because it has weirdly high attack. Delibird, I'm assuming, is there for hazards removal and... Do
you know how bleak that 1 tier was? Delibird was the best I was getting.
You did that. You did that to yourself. I
did.
tried to move everything down.
Yeah.
But no, the rest of the team is kind of nuts. You got the double Water Fairy, which I think is an interesting one. The Azumarill, Tapu Fini, obviously very different mons, can fill different roles. So I don't think it's necessarily that weird to have, despite it being the same type. You have doubled up on a few types here and there as well. So it's not like this draft is kind of standard. But Aegislash, Fini, Mienshao, Zarude, Nihilego as well.
Yeah.
These are all mons that are fantastic. Like I love all those mons. Mienshao is very consistent. I think that's probably like the main thing. Zarude is very consistent. Nihilego is consistent. Like, you know what you're getting with these mons, and they're gonna put in work no matter what.
It's
Crobat, great speed tier. Stunfisk is genuinely very good. People don't realize just how good of a check to certain mons Stunfisk is, especially because you got that double Water Fairy. You're going to be a little bit weak to electric. Stunfisk pretty much walls every electric type. So yeah, Exploud is great, very versatile. People think it's just Specs Boom Burst or Scarf Boom Burst. It can do so much more. And yeah, Mesprit is basically like a budget Mew to an extent.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, Stunfisk, Shuckle King was one of my bigger inspirations for picking up Stunfisk this season. A mon I've never used before, but I've seen it work pretty well. I came into this draft kind of like thinking, okay, I'm gonna pick up a bunch of mons that are like really mons that I'm comfortable with and have used a lot. And it ended up not going that way, outside of the AG slash, right? I was gonna go AG slash Hydra. Hydra gets picked in a few picks from now, so I opted for Tapu Fini. And then I started picking some other mons that fit the team well, but weren't mons that I necessarily have a ton of experience using. Me and Shaun Zarude. Me and Shao I used like in UBL and used it for like 3 games. And then like Zarude I've never used at all. Crobat I used in like 1 or 2 games. Neolego I've used like only on Showdown. Stunfisk never used. Mesprit never used. Azu haven't used since Gen 7. Xblood never used. Trapinch used for like 1 game. And Delibird never used. So it's hard because I actually really like this team, but there's going to be a learning curve for me that I'm really excited for. But one of the big things you mentioned is that double water fairy, which I'm super excited about, and I'll definitely go into explaining it more in my draft analysis. And just a heads up for you all, the draft analyses for all coaches is going to come out at 6 o'clock EST, so in 36 minutes from now, or just they might upload it early once the stream ends. Either way. It's coming out soon, so definitely stay tuned for those. But I think Finiazu makes a ton of sense, and I'm excited to make it work. But I'm not going to say too much other than that. You'll have to watch my draft analysis. Okay, we got JV, baby. Jay is, like we said at the start, I think you used the term glow up. I think that is very accurate. I think Jay absolutely has one of the strongest improvements throughout the generation. He came in, I think, a little bit more of a novice and is, at this point, I would consider him very high skill level. So it's very cool to have him, and he has been, I don't want to say farming championships because that wouldn't be fair to say. I kind of just want to say like he's been getting championships, you know what I mean? Like in every league is in, the IBA, the INT, the ICP, like this is all within the last like 6 months, y'all. So this is very cool on Jay's part. I think that he is arguably one of the most, if not the most accomplished in terms of trophies in the last 6 months in particular, which is super impressive given I think he's been on a bit of a hiatus during the middle of that too. So it's pretty wild how well he's been doing. And I'm super excited for him to join. And he picked up Lele. And I'm not going to lie to you, Jack. This is going to be so awkward. I'm going to let you explain and give your thoughts on Jay's team. I got to go to the bathroom. So have some fun, friend.
Okay. Well, I will spoil that this is my week 1 matchup, so I know this team actually very well. He has got nothing but physical defense between Mudsdale, Corviknight, and Milotic. Granted, all can be specially defensive. Rodigan as well is notoriously more physically defensive. And the combination of Tapu Lele Alakazam is terrifying. Expanding Force Alakazam hits so very hard. Not to mention Porygon, inferior Greedent, let's be honest. 4 points, Greedent was also 4. He could have picked a better mon. But Carkol makes up for it. Carkol is a fantastic 2-pointer. It should be 1 point, but we ignore that. Yeah, Carkol, great for hazards, rapid spin. It's never going to die in 1 hit to something that's not super effective. And yeah, then he's got things like Drapion, Heracross, Lycanroc Dusk on the physical side that make this team really difficult to switch into. They're all like Drapion can be set up sweeper, it can be toxic spikes. Heracross is just always going to be scary as a potential wall breaker or potential scarfer. And Lycanroc, I think, is something that kind of slips under the radar a little bit on how potent it can be as a physical breaker. Speed tier is great. Tough Claws means that Cell Rock is getting boosted. Close Combat basically hits as a second stab. And then coverage like Play Rough and Psychic Fangs is incredible, especially on a Psychic Terrain team. Means that it kind of dissuades screens because there's a Psychic Terrain boosted Psychic Fangs coming your way. And yeah, he never has to worry about defensive checks because Corviknight, Milotic, Mudsdale, Drodigan, there's a little bit of an electric weakness and a little bit of ice weakness, but they just cover each other up so well in that sense. Very, very difficult to break on the physical side. Not to mention, he's got webs with that as well, so anything that potentially outspeeds Alakazam with a Scarf, you can't bring a priority, you can't bring a Scarf that's going to outspeed because Vikavolt is setting up a Sticky Web. Alakazam could be the quickest thing on the field with no priority. That is terrifying to face.
I just totally realized that he picked up Expanding Force Zam. I genuinely did not have that in my mind like this entire time. God damn, that's scary. Sven, I think, won a championship with that combo, so it'll be cool to see what Jay can do with it. Yeah, look at that, look at that. All right, I assume your analysis was good. I wasn't listening. I was peeing.
No, I just sat here quiet. Did nothing.
Okay, good, great, wonderful. All right, we are reaching the, what is the correct, penultimate?
Penultimate, yeah.
Yeah, penultimate few coaches here. Our first one being our very much beloved, but very much hasn't made his draft analysis thumbnail yet, Dr. Slacking. You're gonna see in the favorite section we put Among Us for his other game, because when we asked him, and we put all the things on a Google form for people to answer their favorite Pokemon, their favorite Pokemon game, and their favorite like non-Pokemon game, and Matt responded, games are for scrubs, so we're just gonna put Among Us in there for you and make people think you like Among Us. Is that okay? That's okay. All right,
I believe it.
Matt, I think, is gonna be, this is weird to say because he was runner-up last season, but I think that was like the dark horse story of last season, where Matt took down Vepsis in playoffs, he took down Leo in playoffs, and at one point he was #1 seed during the middle of the season. I mean, he was tearing through the league. So to see him come back is super, super exciting. I think he's only played in one league since CGT Season 2, maybe 2. And I know that he's performed pretty well, but not nearly to the extent that he performed last season of CGT Season 1. So it's going to be interesting to see if he matches that same level of competition this season that he did last season, or if he takes it less seriously. I have no idea. But one thing's for sure, he's a good battler. So, and wildly entertaining.
I think with Matt, he kind of comes off as somebody who is very kind of jovial in his videos. He just goes off on his tangents and stuff, but he is a fantastic player. Considering he also doesn't always have a lot of time for his builds, he still makes them work. I think that's a credit to himself, that he's able to build on short notice and still be able to rack up a finals in CGT last season, despite no mustache in playoffs as well. Can we not get a repeat of that?
Always have his... No, but like, he had never beaten Vepsis before, and then he shaved his mustache and beat Vepsis. I think that's a clear pattern as far as I understand.
I mean, he's saying that he should only shave it off when he goes up against somebody he's not beaten before.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I can see this being like an ongoing story. Hopefully at some point we see shaved Matt again. But at the same time, I'm not sure if the world's ready for that.
Yeah, that was a little cursed. But
it was a little cursed.
Yeah. Alright. Dr. Slacking. First of all, host Night My Hydreigon. I was about to have Hydreigon AG slash. How dare he? But secondly, Matt's team is so interesting here, because I remember being in call with Elias, Vepsis, and thinking to myself, wow, it would be really, really tough to be this 15th and 16th spot in this draft, which hilariously went to our 2 finalists last season. And the reason it's very, very tough is in a meta without Urshifu and a meta without Pult, that's 2 round 1s off the board, right? So, by this time in the draft, after Lele was taken, after Aegislash was taken, it really was looking a little, not grim, but you would have to get kind of, I guess, creative with how you were going to build your teams. And I think Matt did a perfect job with this, picking up 3 15-pointers that are all like equally very, very threatening. And I think he overall is a great team, arguably one of the best in the league this season, if I have to say so. I don't know, what do you think?
I'm trying to work this team out a little bit.
Okay.
Because Hydreigon, Galarian Darmanitan is 2 mons that I had on a recent championship winning team, but they were not pivotal to me winning that championship. As weird as it may sound, considering they're both like top tier threats. I think I brought Darmanitan to like 5 games, and Hydreigon had the worst KD on my entire roster. But I do like Hydreigon, Heatran, Sylveon. It's kind of a little bit worrying that out of his first 5 mons, all 5 are special, but he does kind of make up for that with Galarian Darmanitan, but that really is kind of his only physical breaker. Maybe Landorus could count. Beware I'm a big fan of. I do like Beware.
Yeah.
Gothitelle, I don't know if you have something for Gothitelle, but it's just kind of
Gothitelle.
here.
I remember my first league of Gen 8 was PTL, which was the league that you ran. And I remember it was an open draft, and Gothitelle fell to me like round 5. And I DM you, I was like, why the hell has Gothitelle not been picked? And you deadass, you were like, Gothitelle's not that good. And I was like, we'll see. And then like Cosmic Power, Stored Power swept like 10 people in the league, and they all rage quit. It was fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Gothitelle's really good, and it's a mon that has been underseen this generation. So I think pairing Gothitelle with Darmanitan makes a ton of sense here in order to trap things like bulky waters. I think it works well offensively with Hydreigon in itself. I know you said it's a very special team, but I actually like the fact that like there's some mons on this team like Hydreigon that can run surprise Dragon Dance sets and such.
Yeah.
And even Heatran I've seen Matt use physically as well, which was to his success last season. So the way I see it is I think this is a good team, but I specifically think it's a good team for Matt. I think this is a team that Matt will use well because he thrives not using those super high-end mons. He thrives getting creative and having sort of a middle-of-the-road tier draft. So I think this fits him pretty well.
I'd agree. Like I say, Hydreigon and Heatran can be physical, where both mons are actually really good physical, and especially Hydreigon Dragon Dance sets are super underrated in my opinion.
Yeah.
I would like to know though, and I know Matt's not going to be here, but was Corsola picked up specifically because of our CGT video that Matt and I did?
I wonder.
I need to know if that is like an Easter egg on his team, because that immediately makes us a 10 out of 10 team.
That would be pretty funny. Yeah, he'll probably say in his draft analysis, so you should be sure to check that out right after the stream. But yeah, that's Slacking's team. Let us know what you think about that in the chat, but it's a pretty good team. We got one coach left, Jack. One coach, arguably the biggest breakout coach this generation. It's Mountay, our reigning champion of CGT, reigning champion of Galar, who not only has claimed 2 more championships since winning CGT and YCL and PAC, but he also was regular season champion of APA, that really competitive league that happened a few months ago that we were just talking about with you and Shuckle King as well. I think he was regular season champion, as well as the fact that, I mean, he's really good. I'm scared to face him this season. What's interesting about Mountay that we'll see in his draft, I may as well go to it now, is similar to Matt, both in personality but also in playstyle. He doesn't really rely on that super ridiculous high tier mon to win. Like, for example, last season he had Celesteela, and I know he swept you at Celesteela and got a few good wins with Celesteela, but oftentimes his wins were on the back of Lycanroc or Toxapex or like other things that are more mid-tier. So I think this team fits him pretty well. It's pretty offensive. It's pretty colorful. It has a lot of setup. It has a lot of bulk, which I know that he's used to. He's good at making passive bulk not passive, so I'm not too worried about him having Blissey. It's a pretty good team as far as being the last pick and getting Weavile Rillaboom on the wheel. I feel like it's pretty good. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think with Mountay, he tends to draft teams that, when you look at it, you're like, this is kind of underwhelming. It doesn't necessarily look like it's going to be a particularly great team. It doesn't look like it synergizes that well. But he will make it work, and he will find whatever sets to win the game. Even with a draft that he doesn't necessarily like. With PAC, he didn't really like his draft that much. He liked the mons, but not the synergy. He just makes things work. And honestly, this team is a bit of a Mountay team, in the sense that they're all good mons. I don't necessarily see all that synergy on a glance, but I'm sure he'll make it work. I will point out the Blissey Diancie core with Latias. That's kind of disgusting. I'm a big appreciator of Diancie. I think it's a super underrated mon. At 8 points, it's an absolute steal. And Uh, it's
Little Ellie
this
cameo.
team. Yep. This team has kind of a bit of everything. It has mons such as Latias, Blastoise, Arcanine, Nidoqueen. They can all be defensive, offensive, set up in Blastoise's case and Latias. He has those mons that are kind of set defensive, like Blissey. And there's a Rotom fan, which I know you're a big fan of.
Yeah.
Yeah, and him on Lee works with the Unburden. Rillaboom is kind of like your budget Holucha in that sense. Funnily enough, we see like both Unburden fighting types with the grassy terrain this season, but
which I think is dope. I really like the mix of like old styles and new styles that we have. It really does feel like a good conglomeration, like a big like nice mixture of playstyles that we've seen throughout the generation. And even though playstyles have evolved and norms have changed, I think we have good enough players to be able to revisit those old norms and do just as much work with them as before. Like, I do not see Unburdened Sweepers, like, at all anymore. And the fact that we have 3, I think, in this league is pretty big.
Yeah, I think Slurpuff was on a...
Oh, wow. So 4. So that's crazy.
I know, it wasn't on a terrain team. I thought it was. But...
I know there's Drifblim Coco, there's Hitmonlee Rillaboom, and there's Lucha Bulu. Does Jay have an Unburdened Sweeper? We're going back and checking.
No, he didn't.
Jay, you could have made it a quadfecta. How dare you? But yeah, Monte's team is terrifying. I've seen him win a championship off the back of Shell Smash Blastoise, so that's going to be scary to see again here. He's a good player. Also, Doublade. Doublade is the mon that was like, I was like 5 points on the tier list. It never gets picked this generation. Someone's picking it up this season, and like it's gonna do work because that mon was powerful in like Gen 6. You don't see it anymore. So Doublade is super cool on this team. That's one mon that I'm so excited for.
I think Doublade is gonna be the like Loki best mon or best low tier this season.
Yeah, I agree. Whew, that was all 16 drafts. How you feeling?
Not too bad. You want to do another 16?
Oh God, dear God. No, this isn't UPBA, I'm sorry. All right. Well, first of all, hello everybody. That's all the drafts. Isn't that kind of crazy? Want to say a few things before we reveal the schedule for this season, which is like so cool, right? Number 1, I'm 1 subscriber away from 400 subscribers. Go sub to me if you haven't already. Number 2, go subscribe to all the coaches in the description. It's in the description. Go subscribe to all of them to keep up with all CGT content. Number 3, there's our Discord link in the server below. And there's going to be a lot of stuff happening in our Discord this season. So if you're in it and you haven't muted, I would suggest unmuting it. If you're not in it at all, I would suggest joining it because we have power rankings. We have hopefully analyst stuff coming this season. We have pick'ems that you're going to be able to take part in and win against other people doing pick'ems. You're going to be able to cheer on your favorite coaches, choose roles for your favorite coaches. There's a whole community in there that is worth checking out and interacting with some of your favorite coaches. Definitely suggest joining the Discord. There's going to be updates, all that stuff. So definitely join the Discord. It's in the description. Go check it out, and then also go subscribe to the rest of the coaches, okay? You doing it? Are you doing it? You better. All right. Last thing of business, the schedule. Are you ready, Jack?
No.
Well, then I guess we won't do it. All right. So this is a lot, but I'm going to point out some big ones, right? So week 1 battles, I think, look great this season. We got you versus Jay, which I think is a classic matchup. I think that was APA semifinals. So to have that week 1 is dope. Yeah. We got Lars versus Rhino, who obviously they've never squared off before. They're from 2 different communities. What I find so funny about that is Rhino was knocking out like German after German in the qualification tour league. So it would be interesting to see if Lars can like get some revenge or if Rhino will keep this sort of like German Slayer type-ness in this league. Bruno versus Vepsis is another super exciting one. Seems like a clash is sort of a new school player versus an old school player. Very cool to see that. Myself versus Shuckle King. I was really hoping to play Shuckle King this season because we haven't played this entire generation. I was not hoping for it to be week 1. That's way too much pressure, but now I have to do it, and I have to do it in like an hour, by the way. So we'll see how that goes. But that's I think going to be a pretty good match between Shuckle King and myself, which I'm very excited for. We got Matt O'Shea and Slacking, Battle of the Matthews, happening week 1. Two very strong players who never got to face off last season. We have Pat Mack versus Mounte, two YCL veterans going up against each other. We have Kurt versus Owen, two good friends going up against each other. We have Badass Frostlast versus Sven, two other close friends going up against each other who came from the YCL. And I think Badass Frostlast has gotten Sven's number every single time they've played, so it'll be interesting to see if Sven can turn that around when it matters most. I think that's all of the games. I think that's all the week 1 games, which all look pretty good. Do you have any comments about week 1? Like, week 1 looks pretty exciting.
I mean, I think every week looks exciting because of how strong this roster is. I know that's kind of cliche, but it genuinely is. Like, there's no easy game on anyone's schedule, and I think every week you're going to get some fantastic content, brilliant battles. I'm looking forward to, like, Owen versus Kurt. They are very good friends. I think they were Team Hamburger in TBL, and that's stuck. That's just they've stuck in that. You got the Matt off, not quite a jack off, but the classic.
It's terrible.
But yeah, the Matt off is going to be a very good game. They're both fantastic players, and yeah, I mean, there's some matchups that are kind of fresh. I don't think I've seen. Obviously, you versus Shuckle King.
Yeah, that's going to be.
You
a
said
big
that's
one.
first time.
Never played them before.
Lars versus everyone basically this season.
Yeah.
Same with Bruno, same with Rhino. They really haven't faced many of the people on their schedules, so we're going to see some very interesting matches. I think week 1's going to be a blockbuster. But
I totally agree. I also want to draw some attention to some other games happening around throughout the week. Week 2, I think one of the coolest games that we have on the docket is I want to say Lars versus Matt O'Shea. I think that's going to be a super cool game because I think these two have been sort of Wi-Fi veterans, but I'm not sure if they've ever gotten to play each other, so I think that's pretty dope. Week 3, we got me versus you, the UBL finals rematch, take like 3, which is going to be pretty fun, as well as Owen versus Shuckle King. That's another game that I'm looking forward to quite a bit.
I mean,
yeah.
Week 2, you got Vepsis versus Mounte.
Yeah, Vepsis versus Mounte. Oh my god, I've totally skimmed over that one. That is a matchup that's never happened before. Totally missed that one.
And
Vepsis
that
versus
is
Mounte.
the previous CGT Commissioner's Poll #1 versus the current.
Yeah, goddamn, some stakes there. One week, I'm not going to go through every single week, but one week that I want to pay special attention to is week 7, because I think week 7 has some of the coolest matchups this season. Week 7, we got Vepsis versus Shuckle King. Pretty dope game, always. When those two score off, you're always getting high-level competitive play. Arguably two of the best competitors this entire generation. You also have the finals rematch between Dr. Slacking and Mounte happening week 7 as well. Among other games, too, like myself versus Pat Mack. Haven't been able to get a win against him yet, so I'm excited to play him in week 7 there. You have Kurt versus JV. That's another finals rematch for ICP, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
You have Bruno versus Lars, which is cool in itself because two sort of unfamiliar people. You have Owen versus Matt O'Shea. That's a classic matchup. So week 7 is going to be jam-packed. That's the week I'm most excited for, personally. So it's pretty dope. Definitely some cool matchups here.
On my own schedule, week 9, as always, it seems to happen in every league. I'm playing Matt O'Shea in what is a BBR finals rematch. We've also had many games since then, and it's about 50-50, so that one I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
People that I haven't played this gen got Rhino. I've only played Bruno once. I've only played Kurt once, I think, this gen. So yeah, I'm looking forward to these matchups. There's some new ones for me, and also some fierce rivalries from previous championship games. In fact, both my championship opponents are on my schedule, so...
Yeah, goddamn. Pretty freaking scary schedule. I mean, like we were just saying, like, the competition this season is, I think, even tougher than season 1, and I think the schedule shows it. We're really looking at a schedule here where anyone can beat anyone on any given week, and I genuinely believe that anyone can get any given record here as well. I think that there's not a single coach here that I think is a shoo-in for playoffs or a guarantee not to be in playoffs. So it's going to be super amazing to follow this season. I think it's going to be even more hyped than last season. I hope you all stick around with it. Join our Discord, subscribe to all the coaches. Draft analyses are going up in 12 minutes, y'all. Maybe even sooner if some people get a little excited. So very, very, very much suggest checking out coaches, checking out draft analyses. You'll want to go check those out. Jack, do you have any parting words for the CGT Season 2 stream?
Not really. It's just going to be an amazing season. So you want to make sure you sub to everyone. Make sure to check out as many of the games as you can each week. I know 16 battles is a lot to watch, but try and get through as much as you can. I'm going to be trying to get every game every week if I can. But yeah, I'm hyped for this season. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be insanely competitive. And yeah, just hope that everyone else is looking forward to it as much as I am.
Hella exciting. And just like this stream was on Friday, every single upload this season is also going to be on Friday. So gives you the weekend to watch those games, you know? Hey, look at that. But yeah, Friday is going to be the upload day this season. And every coach is going to upload at the same time. So if you got Matt O'Shea versus Slacking, for example, coming up next week, they'll upload both around the same time, hopefully, assuming Matt, you know, doesn't pull a Matt, but we'll see. I'm gonna be strict. I'm gonna be strict on these coaches. They better stay up to schedule. It's mandatory. Okay. Anyway, cool, awesome. I never really know how to exit these streams. I just want to thank you all for coming out. Like, this was a super awesome stream. I think we were ranging around 30 and 45 viewers the entire stream, which is like super dope. I imagine there's going to be a ton of people checking it out afterwards as well. So it's going to be super cool. I'm excited for this season. Thank you all for watching. And yeah, have a great rest of your night, everyone.